The NBA's in-season tournament has been announced, so let's talk about it. So today, the NBA announced the format and everything that is going on with the in-season tournament starting next season. So from how I understand it, this is how it's going to go. In November, every Tuesday and Friday, the games that are pertaining to the tournament will be played. So a game that happens on like a Wednesday, a Thursday, a Saturday, or Sunday are just going to be regular games that have nothing to do with the tournament. And I would assume that like a team wouldn't, well, maybe they will be playing a back-to-back. I don't know. Like, that's something to think about, but we'll talk about that later. There are 6 groups total throughout all the teams in the league. There are 3 groups in the East and 3 groups in the West that were randomly selected by their record last year. But I don't know exactly how the draft selection went, but it was apparently random. But their record from last season influenced where they were picked somehow. I don't really know exactly how that part worked. And the team with the most wins in each group will get a bid, so to speak, until the knockout round of the tournament. So like the NCAA tournament, there's a knockout round. So you play one game, if you lose, you're out. If you win, you move on. Then they have a semifinals, and then they have a finals. I also forgot to announce there are 2 wild cards for the knockout tournament. And I think only the semifinals and the finals are played in Vegas, and whoever plays in the finals ends up playing 83 games instead of 82. All these games count towards the regular season games, so there are no additional games, so to speak. But now let's get into what I think about the tournament and stuff like that now that we've discussed the rules and the format. When this idea was announced last year, it might have been announced a little bit before that, but like when this idea was announced and it was talked about that they're actually going to try to like put it into play, I was not a fan, I'm not gonna lie. I actually made a video saying, we don't want an in-season tournament. And I think a lot of people still feel that way. And me personally, I still am not sure that I like this idea either. I understand what they're trying to do with it. And obviously it's all about, increasing ratings, making the product better, obviously making more money. Like this is a business, it's entertainment. They are trying to boost everything. They want everything to go up. So it makes sense in terms of like what they're trying to accomplish. But I don't know that this accomplishes what they think it's going to accomplish. Because for a team that's trying to win a championship, I don't know that they're going to play any extra hard to try to win the tournament because it doesn't really help them win the NBA Finals. Like, yes, they want to win the games because they count as regular season games, but they're not going to put in playoff effort, in my opinion, to make it to the finals if, like, it's not going to actually help them win the finals. You know what I mean? Like, winning one extra game can be a difference in your seeding. It can, but it also may not make a difference. You know what I'm saying? My point is they're going to try to play and win the games because they want to win the games because they count as regular season games. But I don't see teams like, being like, let's go. We want to win this tournament because like, I just don't see that. I also have a few other questions like, how is it? And this is what I was saying earlier in the video that I was like, let me pause and let me talk about the format first before I mention this. Because I was like, wait, what if a team is playing a back-to-back? Like, the games are played on Tuesdays and Fridays. That's what they said. Maybe there's a little more, to that, but that's what it said in, the video. So if the games are played on Tuesdays and Fridays, what if a team is playing on Thursday? Like, they're at a disadvantage because the schedule, unless they made the schedule so that there are no back-to-backs during that time period, but if teams have back-to-backs, then those teams are at a disadvantage going into the tournament game. So, like, that's a little unfair, I guess, if you, if you're talking about you want the teams to compete for the tournament. If they're playing a back-to-back, sometimes some players don't even play back-to-back. So, like, how are you going to prevent them from resting on the back-to-back? My other question would be is, how is travel affected? Like, is it making the players have to travel more because of this or less? I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, who really cares? But that is something for the players to consider when they are, trying to participate in the tournament. Like maybe for us personally, obviously we are not flying those extra miles. It doesn't technically affect us personally as fans. But if a player is like, well, like, I can't say specifically that they would do this, but you have to think about like, they are so scientifical nowadays. Like every move they make is like counted down to a science. Whether you agree with that or not, that's kind of how it is a lot of the times now. So like, if they have to take an extra 5-hour plane ride, maybe they rest one of the games. Like I'm just saying, like these are things that I don't know if these are factored into how they, made this tournament. I don't know. And then of course there is the outcome or the prize for winning the tournament. Now, of course, who's going to turn down free money, right? Like if someone's giving you $500,000, like you're not going to turn that down. But people are suggesting, or people have suggested like a different prize. maybe that would get the organization, not necessarily the players in this case, because we'll talk about them in a bit, but like to get an organization more excited to have their players take it more seriously, or maybe the players, this can be included as them as well, that like if you win the tournament, maybe you get some prize money too, but you also get like a top 10 pick, a lottery pick, like regardless of where you finish. That could be something interesting. Obviously, you can't give someone the number 1 pick or top 3 pick because then like that wouldn't make sense because all the teams who are not very good would be at a disadvantage. But like if you give someone a lottery pick, a top 14 pick, that's something that would make organizations be like, that's interesting. And from the player standpoint, because like I said, that will obviously benefit them too if their team, got a lottery pick because it could help bring in a potential really high talent to their team. But specifically for players, because that's a little bit more for the organization, what if there was something, and I don't know how they would do this, so like I don't have, a good example, but what if it was something like they got an extra day's rest before the NBA playoffs? Like I don't know exactly how you would do it, but just like something that's an incentive to them on top of the money. Like something that would make them want to win. Because these players make a lot of money. Like, again, they are definitely not going to not accept the extra money. But is that going to really tip the scale for the organization and for the players to make them be super excited about wanting to do this tournament that kind of disrupts what they're already doing in the regular season and trying to make them play harder in November when they're trying to just get in basketball shape? I don't know.